number, that means we've been doing this for 5+ months. It doesn't feel like 5+ months. It feels like just a couple days. But if we kind of, as ages, our podcast is almost at the age to drink. That's kind of crazy. If you haven't checked out episode 19, go ahead and do that. I know we were a little late on the episode. It was just some scheduling mishaps that we had to get worked out, but it is up there. It is live. It is a great interview with Queen B. You get a chance to kind of hear him talk about why he does the writing that he does. He does stuff over at Lee Crawley. He does stuff over at Sports Gaming Online. He's all over the place. Great dude. Like I said, if you get a chance to check that out and you haven't, absolutely do that. Again, congratulations to the winner of the July giveaway. It was a $20 gift card for a PlayStation or Xbox, whatever of his choosing, and that is to @ItGoRain on Twitter, man. Congratulations to you. Awesome job. Again, if you want to be a part of that, go ahead, follow the YouTube stuff, get on the Discord, go over to leecrawler.com, check out how to get involved. It's some really cool stuff. Patreon members continue to fund that. And a huge shout out to those Patreon members, the Platinum members, the SPAs, the Soden Bowls. Congratulations to you guys. Thank you for supporting everything that we're doing over here at League Crawler. Also, one of the coolest things that I see over at the League Crawler site is Nate from OMFL is absolutely killing the content over there. They are putting out stuff that it has nothing to do with their league. He's doing all kinds of gaming stuff. I learned a lot about the E3 stuff, even some of the Madden stuff from his stuff that he's doing. It's awesome work. It's great quality. If you get a chance to go over there and check that out, huge shout out to Nate. Now, this is what you guys are here for. You come in for the news. My guess is you probably already clicked this off. You just probably now click back on this segment so you get to the segment where we get to actually talk to the guests, because that's what you come here for. And today we have an absolutely amazing guest in Bradley from Elite over at PlayStation 5. It's a league. It's awesome. Bradley, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm pretty good, man. I'm pretty good. You know, I can't speak for everybody else, but when I tune into these podcasts, I tune in for your announcements, man. Like, did you breathe in the mix of that?
I do. It's this awesome technique where I breathe through my nose and I talk out of my mouth. It's like this whole like concurrent thing. I've developed like a superpower here.
I gotcha. That's cool, man. But hey, I appreciate you having me on. I'm super excited. I love everything you guys are doing. Pretty sure I've caught almost all the podcasts. I think maybe the only one I haven't caught is last week's, and I know that was a little late coming out, but I'll check it out.
It was a good one, and I appreciate the views, man. I really enjoy that. Now let's talk about Elite. When did Elite start?
So Elite, when did it start? Me and a couple buddies that I've been playing Madden with for probably about 10 years. A couple months before the PlayStation 5 dropped, we basically got together and was like, hey, PS5's coming out. Let's do this right. And we had things in place. We were doing content before the PlayStation 5 even dropped. And once it dropped and the game dropped, we gave our guys maybe like a week or something to get the game. And we just started rolling from there. I believe that was like maybe January, I think, something like that.
Now, I want to try to relate back and forth. So, like, this is a question that it's almost with where my frame is. Because you do the league that you do, and because it's so successful, and it's one of the most fun leagues out there. There is always going to be a sense of pride for myself with what we do at SPA that I don't really get jealous of a lot of leagues because I know what we have in house. Is that very similar to how you feel with Elite?
You were cutting out a little bit there, but I'm pretty sure I got the gist of everything you were saying. I don't think so. So let me just rephrase this back to make sure I understand right. You're asking me if I get jealous of what other leagues do when I see other leagues doing cool things?
No, because of what you guys have, because of what you're doing at Elite, is it harder to get jealous of what other leagues are doing?
Yes, definitely. I don't know if I would use the word jealous, but I believe the CFM space is a small space. If you're a content creator in the CFM space, you probably know everybody else who is doing what you're doing. And I feel like we all look at each other, we all watch each other, we glean from each other, and we grow from each other. I don't think our success has like put me in a spot where I don't look at other people in the same way, because I still do. All of your like major content leagues, like you could probably name off the top of your head like 5 leagues that you consider great content leagues. I watch all the content those guys put out, and every time I see them do what they do, I say to myself, okay, how can I incorporate what they're doing into what we're doing over here? And I think that there's something I do not only with other leagues, but just in general. Me and the family will be out to eat at some sports bar or something, and like ESPN or something will be up on the like the TVs all surrounding us, and I'll be watching all the different shows they got going. I'm like, okay, how can I incorporate what these guys are doing into what we're doing in Elite?
Now, the reason that I even asked that was because I also have pride in things that I myself do, but I want to give you your props because as I started to see what Elite was doing, it's been a long time since I myself got jealous of what other leagues are, and that is a good word for me because that was the first time I was like, damn, I wish I owned a PS5. What these guys are doing is incredible. So huge shout out for what you guys are doing in house because it's incredible stuff. And for those of you that have not seen Elite's content, I encourage you to get over to their YouTube page. I'm legitimately blown away. Before I do this episode every single week, I spend about 3 hours or so really diving deep into all the content stuff that you guys do. Your YouTube, your guys, which I had all that info. I gotta tell you, man, the shows you guys are doing are great. Like I go over to some of these other leagues, even some of the ones that have been on the podcast, and they got a show that comes out here and there, and it's inconsistent. But I mean, you guys have the Elite Debate, you have the Elite CFM Super Bowls that you guys record, you put out. You have the Wire. None of that stuff has been put out. Like all of it's within like the last month. So you guys are consistently putting out good content.
Oh yeah. So we are right now in our 5th season of this cycle, and it's going to be our last one for this cycle. But prior to this season, I think in season 4, we were running 4 weekly shows. And like once you start running that amount of content, I feel like you run into the potential issue of oversaturation. And as we went into this 5th season, we noticed some things were starting to slow down. So we pivoted from doing the 4, and now we basically have 1 weekly show. We got another one we're doing bi-weekly, and then the Elite Debate. That one we're saving for like key points in the season. I think we're going to, once we get to the end of the season, we're going to do a couple more of those episodes. And what you don't see, Mo, on the YouTube, we also have a content creator in our league, Freight Train Shane. He does I don't think we've done it at all in season 5, but back in season 4, I think seasons 2 through 4, Freight Train was running a weekly show for us on Tuesdays on Twitch, Trash Talk Tuesdays, and that show, like, that's not on YouTube at all for us. That's strictly been a Twitch thing, and that's probably been one of our most successful shows, hands down. And basically, the format of the show is a guy hosting it. He's just talking crap the whole time, and guys from the league can call in and talk to him, talk trash with him. What and like it's a super. I don't know the best way to explain it. It's basically a community call-in show. And when the guy approached me about it, I was super hesitant because I was afraid guys weren't going to buy into it, because you have to have your guys buy in, especially with something like that. And they all bought in. Like, our community bought so hard into that show, and that show has probably been one of our most successful things. And also, what you don't see on the YouTube, we've been running weekly commentary streams over on Twitch as well. That's
That I absolutely got that as something that we're going to go with because that deserves its own part as it is. But before we get to that part, I understand that on the YouTube thing, you got the Elite CFM Super Bowls. My guess is that's just a play-by-play or a playback of what you guys are doing in the Super Bowl. But I want to get into the Elite Debate because there's going to be a lot of people who listen to this that have no idea what you guys are doing. Can you explain to them what the Elite Debate even is?
So I wanted to go with the name TED Talk for it, but I think there might be some copyright stuff there with it. But like TED V, TVE Elite D debate. So TED Talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is probably some copyright stuff there, so we didn't do that. But it's the Elite Debate, and basically the premise of the Elite Debate is we're just trying to knock off Undisputed. That's all it really is, man. Trying to knock off Undisputed. But we've got a guy who hosts it. I'm on it, and then another one of our guys, Cobra, is on it. And so our one guy hosts it, me and the other guy, we basically debate topics that the dude presents in front of us. And it's not like a voice podcast. It is a show that is done with cams. I push very heavily for all of our content to be done with cams. And also when we do it, the so you know how when you watch like Undisputed or something, or you're watching ESPN, and the person who's talking, it goes from like a split screen thing, and then the person who's talking, like the screen just features that one person. That there's kind of like what we do with the production of it. So it's not voice, it's cams, and the person that's talking, their cam gets pulled up front and center. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I've checked out multiple episodes. I've checked out a lot of what you guys do on Twitter. I follow, I think, most of your stuff. Also, shout out to Freight Train. I think I follow him on Twitter. I see some of his stuff.
Mhm.
I don't think it's a retweet. I think I see his stuff live when he puts it out. But the one thing that I love about your guys' league that like you can see it even from the outside looking in is you guys seem to have a brotherhood that really rivals maybe just about any league out there. Um, can you talk a little bit about the community aspect of what you guys are doing? What is it like to be a member of the league?
So, community aspect, yes. So the brand Madden Elite, we're in our fifth season. We're still a baby, but while the brand is a baby, a good part of our core has been playing together legitimately 10 years. There are guys in this league that I've known for 10 years, and my friendship with them goes way beyond Madden. Um, as far as what it's like being in the community, I would say our community, I don't know the best way to explain this. I think we can be a little bit rough, Mo. I'm not gonna lie to you. Our guys have been together for a very long time. We have a lot of trash talk amongst our group, and I'm gonna be straight with you, man. There are days I want to just be like, okay, I'm out, goodbye. I'm never talking to you guys again. Um, but like they're rough. Like you give guys in our league a reason to ride you, they're gonna hit you pretty hard. But it's all done. It's all done in fun and love. Like There's this one guy. Shout out to Zell if you're listening, Zell. There's this one guy in our league, in our communities named Zell, right? And me and this guy, we fight like cats and dogs. Okay. But the thing about it is, when we're not fighting, I think me and him are always looking to push the other one's buttons.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot of poking and a lot of trash talk. But in the end of the day, beyond all the trash talk, our guys have been together for a very long time, and I think what we have goes well beyond Madden.
Right.
I have so when you play with the same guys like how we have for a very long time, there are times you're going to get frustrated with them. And there have been times I have tried to walk away from the community that I'm a part of because I've been mad at someone or something. But every time I go somewhere else, it's never the same. It's never the same. It's never home. My home is the community that we have. It's not the brand Madden Elite. It's the guys we have.
Yeah, because it sounds like you guys pretty much like I know that you're the head of this, but it sounds like you guys all just kind of do this together, and you all kind of piggyback off each other to just keep this going. Because when I see your members on Twitter, man, they are showing nothing but love for the community you guys have.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Our guys are loyal to a fault. You mentioned that I'm the head of it. I actually am not the head of it. So our admin team, I kind of consider myself a pretend admin, to be honest, Mo. Like I get away with a lot of stuff, and it's because the media I do. Um, but our commish is a guy named Bread. He is legitimately the best Madden player that I have ever played with, ever been around in my life. I've been playing with the guy. The guy was in the very first league I ever ran 10 years ago. And like I've been rolling with him ever since. And there's never been a cycle until this one where I've not seen him win multiple Super Bowls. He's a guy that wins multiple Super Bowls every year. And that's our commish. And we have multiple guys on our admin team. The Cobra guy I mentioned is on our admin team. Another guy, Beeman's on our admin team. And then there's also Fun Guy. Fun Guy is probably the best day-to-day commissioner that I have ever worked with. I've never worked with anybody in the Madden space that can run the day-to-day operation of a Madden league like he does. I can tell you right now, I am horrible at running the day-to-day stuff of a Madden league. But yeah, I'm just like the media guy. I'm the pretend admin dude.
That's it. That's incredible, and why that's incredible is because it leads us right into our next part, and that is talking about our first sponsor. And our first sponsor is SpaceTrader.com. And at SpaceTrader.com, it's pretty much exactly what you just described over at Elite, and that's figuring out what you're good at and knowing where you need to grow and seeing if your positives, the things you can do, can help somebody else, and maybe they can help you too. SpaceTrader.com is a great place to continue to grow your businesses because it's a place for businesses that aren't looking to just maximize their own stuff. They want to be there as a group to kind of all help each other. The pandemic hit a lot of pockets. A lot of people are starting some new businesses. It is a great site to get over there and kind of put your name out there. See if there's anything that you need help with, but also see if there's anything that you can provide. And let's all just kind of do this together, and then maybe we'll all make some money out of it. You never know. Do you see why Matt allows me to do this?
Oh yeah, man. You are a very good salesman. Have you tried selling cars?
I haven't, but I probably should. Do Brad, the latest show that you guys did was The Wire, and it's one of my favorite ones to watch. But can you tell the listeners what it is? And for those that don't know, that was just put out 2 days ago, and I just finished it about 30 minutes ago. But can you tell the listeners what The Wire is?
Yeah, so The Wire is basically just like a weekly show I do. And it's kind of if I was to describe it, I would say like the weekly happenings around the league. Like kind of look back over everything that had gone down the previous week, and it has become a place to blast people. That's what it's become. It's become my avenue to blast people, and nobody's safe. I've blasted admins for cheesy crap in it. I think in the last one we did though, you mentioned you watch it. Is that the one with the clip and it was like two QB sneaks in a row?
Yep.
And oh yeah. So there's this one guy, right? In this clip on The Wire, there's this one guy. His name's Terrob. Well, no, it wasn't Terrob. Who was it? I don't even remember who it was at the moment. But so we had it was Intellect. Okay, so our Texans owner, he's playing our Colts owner, and in this game, the Texans owner, he gets the ball down like the 1 yard line, and he runs a QB sneak, and he gets stuffed. And then the second down runs a second QB sneak in a row, and he gets stuffed. And then on third down, he runs a fullback dive, and the play gets absolutely blown up. And I don't know what you think about that, Mo, but to me, that's pretty cheesy, man. So we went in, we clipped that, we blasted it on the wire, called the dude out for his cheese. And then as the game progresses, our Colts owner ends up putting up another touchdown. And then on the kickoff, the game DCs. And then following the DC, the Texans owner goes MIA, and the Colts owner is like, dude, where you at? In chat. And then the Texans owner is like, I don't care. I'm going to bed. You tell me, Mo. Do you think that was a disconnect? You think that was an innocent disconnect?
What I love about what you do is you have no issue calling it out. That's what I love, because I would agree. If I were in your spot, I'd be like, yo, that's some BS. But what I love is not only will you call it out, but your community expects you to do it. And here's why I love it. Okay, because this is one commissioner to another staff, like, and I'm part of my staff too. We have like 5 commissioners, so it's very similar to what you guys are doing. But from one to another, we do an award show at the end of the year, right? And in that award show, there's like 20 awards, but one of the awards is Cheese Ball of the Year. Okay? Mm-hmm. And nobody in the community wants to win this award. And it's something that the league talks about all year as they start seeing cheese plays. Yo, I'm voting for you. Yo, I'm voting for you. No, don't vote for me. Like, I'll fix my play up. So the fact that you do something very similar, I can totally see how that would affect your league in a positive way, because they're going to be like, oh, I do not want to get called out on this show. If anybody can get called out, commissioners, staff, whoever can get called out, I do not want to be somebody who can get called out. Would you agree that that is one of the positives that come with The Wire?
You're opening a can of worms right now, man. So I feel like, so it's a double-edged sword, right? It's a double-edged sword. One, like, overall, I enjoy it. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. But people get super pissed off about it. They get super mad about it. Okay, like the episode I mentioned, I've called out an admin on it. Man, the heat I got after that episode, I had to like take a day or two away. Okay, dude. But nobody's safe. I'll call anybody out. But people get like super mad about it. There are people I think almost legitimately almost hate me about it. And like, I kind of went through a phase where it really bothered me. And I mentioned to you about how we had one of our admins, shout out to Fun Guy. I mentioned to you one of our admins, Fun Guy. He's the best day-to-day commissioner I've ever worked with. I also consider him a pretty close friend. And he's someone that I've worked with him so long. The very first league I ever ran 10 years ago, he was on staff. And we've always worked together. He's someone that I work with, and he doesn't need to tell me what he's thinking. I know what he's thinking, and I don't need to tell him what I'm thinking. He knows what I'm thinking already. And he knew that I was really getting upset with how like mad people were getting. And then he went and took a screenshot of like all of the recent tweets, searching the term. I think it was like Skip Bayless is stupid or something, or Skip is dumb. And the heat that Skip gets is ridiculous. And his point was like, hey, you're gonna get heat for this crap. And I think it's something I have to accept. But like, you would be surprised with the amount of heat I get for calling people out. I get a lot. But I feel like, though, overall, like, I'll take that heat because it does something very special for the community. Like, we're really starting to feel it right now. The end of cycle thing, things are really starting to slow down, and it's just now starting to hit us. I've heard leagues been talking about it for a while. A lot of leagues have been slow for a long time from what I'm hearing, but it's just now starting to hit us. But I mean, we're in our last season, so it is to be expected. But after I put out that most recent wire that you mentioned you watched, pretty much all day, the rest of that day, the chat was popping, and a lot of the discussion basically stemmed off of the stuff that we called out on the wire. And that whole like Texan shenanigan wasn't the only thing we called out in that episode. We called out multiple things, and there were a lot of wheel spinning and chat taking place. So while I might get a little bit of heat, it definitely does a lot for league activity. So I'll take the heat.
Here's what I'll tell you, because I mean, I've been doing the commish job now for like 6+ years. Here's what I'll tell you about that. You're going to find people that are going to give you some heat, but you're also going to go through a transition phase where you're going to find people that like that amount of honesty, that want to be a part of something like that. Because like for me, for instance, when I hear something like that, my initial reaction is, yo, I would love to be a part of something that has that much honesty where everybody can just kind of like call each other out, because that's what makes leagues great. It makes communities great when guys can be honest. So if some of those guys end up leaving because they just don't like being called, they don't like that, then it was great to know them why they were there, and you have the relationship as far as they'll go. But you'll continue to find people that want to come in to be a part of that experience. And I honestly, man, I deeply encourage you to keep that going, because I think it's an incredible way to build your guys' community on everybody can be a piece of this. Do your part, you know? So huge shout out for that. Getting into the next topic, though, is what you guys are doing over on Twitch. And there's leagues that I like to watch. There's the Soden Bowls. There's the I'm gonna mess their name up. It's the league that does the Apex stuff, or the Access game, or whatever it is. I love their community. I love getting over there and checking their stuff out. But your guys' play-by-play is incredible. Can you tell the community what you guys are doing over on Twitch?
Yeah, so as far as the play-by-play goes, when we started this league up, I wanted to do something different. And the reason why I wanted to do something different is because, well, first of all, prior to this cycle, I'd not come across Snipes. Okay. And Snipes is a beast. Snipes is amazing. But prior to this cycle, really the main two leagues that I really paid attention to that did the play-by-play was Soden and Bomber. Bomber League no longer around, but Nick Menzesko still out there doing his thing. And the Bomber League and Soden Bowl, their play-by-play is absolutely fantastic. It's like you're watching a Sunday game, you know. You're basically immersed into it like you're watching a real game. And I don't feel comfortable in myself to be able to put on that type of production. But what I am comfortable with is being like grabbing a handful of our community guys, pulling them in, and hey, let's chill, let's hang out, let's chat about this game while this game is going on, you know? So it's not so much your like intense play-by-play game or play-by-play commentary, or commentary isn't that. I would say it's more along, I don't know what I would describe it as, maybe just an open discussion with league members hanging out while it's going down. We've had at the time maybe like, I think the most we've had in on one game's like 5 guys, something crazy like that. I know you did a game with us, and I think we had like you and like 3 other, you, myself, and 2 other of my league guys in with us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how many we had that night, but yeah, I would say majority of the times we usually have about three guys in with us in the booth, and it's pretty chill, pretty laid back.
It is. It was a lot of fun being a part of that. Jumping over to what you guys are doing on Twitter, I would describe Twitter as the shorthand version of what you're doing on all of your other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Close, or am I wrong?
Yeah. So the Twitter stuff, I consider Twitter as like ground zero. Like I consider Twitter ground zero for if you're wanting to grow in the CFM community. And so whatever we do, I try and also have a presentation of it on Twitter. So for example, when I post The Wire, I'll go and clip like a minute to 2 minutes of The Wire, drop that on Twitter, and feed in the link back to the YouTube video. And if we did a stream and the aftermath of the stream, I'll go and clip a minute or 2 of the stream, throw it on Twitter, and let it live there a little bit. we've seen a lot of growth, and a lot of our growth has come through Twitter. And I think also what as we've approached Twitter is I want to stand out on Twitter. Like, what can I do that is different? So my main strategy, main approach is let's just clip part of the things that we do and drop it on, because most leagues out there basically are all I want to be careful. I don't want to get negative. I think an issue in the CFM space is we're all watching each other, and a lot of people are replicating what other people are doing, and a lot of people do it in a way where they're just a carbon copy of another league. Yep. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. I think we are oversaturated a lot with a bunch of leagues being carbon copies of each other. So I find throwing down clips is a good way to stand out, because what other league is doing that?
No, brother, what you just said spoke directly to me. Like, you're preaching to the choir, because when we were doing like our own thing, I didn't know about the Madden community, right? And we were trying to do all this different kind of content, different kind of shows, podcasts, all these different kind of things, right? And then I got introduced to Matt over at League Crawler, and he kind of introduced me to a number of different people in the community, that so all these different people. And that's when I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to keep doing this content thing, because everybody is doing something that you're right. It's very similar to what they're doing. And I really wanted to focus on the field. So I completely understand with what you're saying, trying to find your own avenue. But having said that, I know that, like, what I do with my thing, when I'm looking over at other leagues, I look over at like role pages, I look over at the content side. But one of the things that really sticks out to me is their logo, right? I got to tell you, buddy, your guys' logo might be my favorite in the entire Madden community.
Really?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I love, and when you go over to your guys' Twitter, for those that haven't done it yet, it is twitter.com/EliteCFM. I am a huge 90s wrestling nerd, dude. I absolutely loved the NWO, Degeneration X. When I go onto your guys' Twitter, and the first thing that pops up is this Elite Super Bowl championship belt. It's like something I would want to hang on my wall.
Oh yeah. So I am a huge wrestling fan, and everyone. So I mentioned I want to stand out, right? I don't want to be a carbon copy, right? But there's something that I feel very strong about, and I'm always asking myself, okay, how can I stand out in the mix of this? And I feel like every league does the same thing to commemorate their Super Bowl champions. And what is that? That is, hey, let's make a Super Bowl banner. Yep. Like, everybody does that. Like, no, I don't want to do a Super Bowl banner. Everybody does that. It's overdone. I want to do something different. So, we made a Super Bowl championship belt. And have you seen the Tier 4 championship?
I have not.
Go to are you able to hop over to our Twitch right now?
Oh, I'm on your guys' whole thing.
Okay, look at look at the panels and scroll down. You'll see the Tier 4 championship.
Tier 4. Oh man, you got a couple on here. These are so dope.
Dope. The Tier 4 championship is a thing that we did so we ran a stream. I run into this issue when we throw together commentary streams all the time, where my guys tell me no. I'll cycle through like 4 games, and everybody will have a reason why they can't be on the commentary stream in the time slot I'm trying to book the game. And we had this one game we did, and this 1 week we did it in our 4th season, where the game I had to settle on was, I think, the 0-12 Patriots versus the 1-11 Broncos. Who wants to watch that, Mo? Nobody wants to watch that. So what we did, we created a story around it and we dubbed it the Toilet Bowl. And then I took our championship belt design, I trashed it up in similar style to the 90s WWF Hardcore
Hardcore champ.
Championship.
Yep.
Yep. And the winner of it got the Tier 4 championship. And it's a thing right now in circulation. And anytime the Tier 4 champion plays a team that is ranked number 4 in their division, the Tier 4 championship is defended.
Yo, I love this stuff, man. I absolutely love it. I'm blown away, brother. Blown away. So, man, you totally got me sidetracked. I got to totally get back on. Getting back into Madden, okay? Because now I'm all like Russ about. Madden 21 caught a ton of flack upon release. What was your guys' experience over in Elite with Madden 20? Because I know you guys were all next gen. It started with that one. What was your guys' experience with Madden 21?
So at the start of this cycle, I was kind of I wasn't really rolling with my guys. I was kind of out doing my own thing. And it wasn't until closer to the end of last year when everything started to come together. So really my first feel for how our community was responding to Madden was next gen. Mm-hmm. And I did do some stuff in the cycle earlier. It didn't really last too long, but my main feel and my main experience this cycle has just been next gen. And it has basically been like one massive high. I feel like this is kind of how a lot of people feel with next gen. It's maybe arcadish. I don't know if that is the word that I would use, but it's a lot of offense, very little defense. But our guys, I feel like everybody's loved the game. I really haven't heard a lot of complaints. I feel like this is it is the most successful cycle that our guys have ever had. And a big part of it is next gen. And I think this next gen cycle for us has been very interesting. We've maintained a waiting list of 20 to 30 guys at any time, and it would be a lot bigger, but once we get like up into the high 20s, we usually go through and weed guys out of our waiting list and remove them from our server. Or we keep our server more of a private server, not really open to the public. The overall atmosphere, though, like everybody's like been on a high with it. We really haven't had any issues at all.
Okay, so if we're talking about Madden 22 being what I would hope to be a huge upgrade, what would be your top 3 things that you're like, EA, we got to have this?
That's a rabbit hole there. So my main, I'm not really too concerned about Madden 22. I'm looking ahead. I am concerned about Madden 24. That's what I'm concerned with, Mo. And I say that because it's predicted that 2023 is going to be the year that college football drops. And I want to see Madden be able to go hand in hand with the college football. So that's the main thing I'm looking ahead to right now. I want to see steps that are taken in 22 that are steps towards 24, because they're assembling their team for college football. They obviously know what they want to do and they have a plan in place. I want to see Madden be a part of that plan. But as for Madden 22 specifically, I want to see CFM get love. And it sounds like that's going to be the case. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. And there's a lot they could do with it. There's a lot they could do with it if I had to give a couple things that I would like to see. So I I had an ideal. And like this is kind of like my own ideal, so it's probably like not gonna happen. But like if I was in the room with the Madden devs and I was like, hey, you gotta do this thing and I'll be happy. What I would like to see, and hear me out on this. This is gonna sound dumb, okay, but hear me out on this. I would like to see you be able to go in and you can like go in and like edit your guy, edit his equipment and all that jazz. I would like to see in the aftermath of like editing all that somewhere is an option to where you can pose the player. And I know that sounds dumb, but my reasoning for that is this: it is for content. To me, something that I find frustrating in our season 4 Super Bowl, our Jets owner was there, and I found it very hard to make advertisements for that Super Bowl because the Jets quarterback is a Madden Gen player, his running back is a Madden Gen player, his wide receivers are Madden Gen players, his offense is decked out with Madden Gen players. I want to be able to take those guys, pose those guys in a way to where I can easily take screenshots of the PlayStation 5 and pull them into like Photoshop and edit the crap out of it. That there's just something I would like to see. Nate from the OMFL, he recently did a Madden wish list, and in it, I think it was one of the guys that was watching live. They had a really good idea that when I heard it, my ears perked up and I latched onto it. I think it's an amazing idea. What if in the CFM mode, you could go in, you know how you can go in and view highlights after the play?
Yep.
What if you could save and upload those highlights to a spot in the CFM, and then everybody can go in and view the highlights that everybody uploaded?
Brother, I won't lie to you. I've already got the beta. I'm an EA tester. One of my things to EA already has been, let me go back after my game, pick a couple plays that I think are my highlight plays. The game then stores those, and as we advance to the next week, it combines everybody's that they picked from their games and creates its own highlight package, right?
Yeah.
And the answer was, we've got a lot of things to figure out before we get down that point, which is also a big concern for me. And I brought this up on the podcast a few times, but I'm gonna put this out there for you as well. It does seem like as franchise continues to get worked on, they have to start back at the base where you work with what the computer's doing. But do you play against the computer ever?
No.
And that's my concern, is as franchise going to be worked on for the next few years, I'm hoping that there is some realization that there is a huge community of franchises out here that aren't going to use any of these upgrades at all. They're not going to care that the AI now knows that we drafted a quarterback last year and we don't need to do it again this year. I don't care because I'm going to have somebody on the team anyway, you know?
Yeah.
Is there any fear in what you guys are doing that's going, they may not be doing a whole lot for our community?
I would say most of our guys kind of expect that.
I would agree with that. I think pretty much, well, and I don't want to make that oh man, EA is not going to do anything for the community, because like, yo, I cannot wait for everybody to get their hands on what's going on, because the guys over EA have worked their freaking tails off. I can't give them anything but praise, and I can't wait to kind of share once everything goes. But I do like some of your ideas for Madden, especially the one with clipping stuff. I'd love to see some more stuff implemented for online franchises. Now, I got a couple more questions about EA and about Madden. Then I want to jump into some of the stuff you're doing behind the stuff. What you guys were new this year. What were some struggles that you look back at this last Madden cycle and go, that was an area we struggled that we need to get better at for going forward?
I'll be honest, Mo, there really haven't been a lot of struggles. I mentioned this is the most successful season that we've ever had. I feel like it is the easiest Madden league we've ever ran. Mm-hmm. It feels like a walk in a park. Like, it's like pinch me. There's no way next year is going to be as easy as this is. But if I was to cite an issue that we've had, I think my issue is kind of just myself, man. Like I'm over analytical. I live in my own head. I have a massively obsessive personality. Like my eyes fixate on something and they don't let go, you know?
Mhm.
And how do I explain this? I think I don't know. I think I'm just over analytical a lot of times, and I get frustrated very easily. Frustrated with numbers, frustrated with views, frustrated with how this person received this thing. I don't know. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't feel like I am.
No, you are. Because I think that I'm very wired similarly. There's times that I feel like I overanalyze being over analytical, where I'm
Yeah.
like constantly in my own head. And that's why I do the things on the side that I do. So I totally get what you're saying. Now, having said that, though, when we talk about areas you can grow, I want people out there to understand that you guys have been, I would use the term rapidly successful. What would be your advice for others that are like, yo, I want to follow that path now? Like I see the Sodans, I see these other leagues, but I want to follow elites, what they're doing. What would be your advice to them?
Um. So I don't think running a successful league is something that can be done half effort. If you want the league to be successful, you have to put in the work, and you also have to realize you can't do it yourself. Um, I for example, like there's no way I could do like what Elite is by myself. It's not possible. I cannot run a league the day to day of it. Like I'm not wired that way. I'm too soft.
Mm-hmm.
I'm too soft, and just don't do it all yourself. From the very get go, we've talked about all the shows that we have in Elite. From the very get go, I was running one weekly show. That's all it was from the very get go. One weekly show. And then we expanded to two when Freight Train started to do his thing. And then on our Elite debate, while I run the production for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I run the production for it, but I don't do any of the day-to-day work in putting that show together. Another one of our admins behind the scenes is putting together like all the legwork. He's getting, if we're going to have a guest on it, he gets the guest. He lines up the topics and he lines up the times. He gets everything in order. Our commentary streams, I do. So we were running that on a weekly basis. I was only, when we were doing it on a weekly basis, I was only doing every other week. And we have another guy in our community that was running the stream every other week to lessen the load so that I wasn't carrying it all by myself. If you want to be successful and you want to run high-end media-driven league, you have to form a team. There are leagues out there that try and do it with just one person trying to do it. One person cannot do it. Like, yeah, you can do some stuff, but you're not going to be able to do everything. And build a team, build a team. That's what I would say.
I think that's great advice, and I would 100% agree with you. Now, this is the part of the show where we're going to kind of get away from what Elite's doing. So before we go forward, I want to give you guys a shout out for what you're doing you're on YouTube, you're on Twitch, you are on Twitter. If you guys look up Elite CFM on any of those avenues, it's going to take you to their stuff. It is all great content. I really encourage you guys to go over there, subscribe, and check out what they're doing, because there's a lot to learn rather than just me entertained. They've got some really good stuff. Now, having said that, my favorite part of doing this show is when I get guests, I try to do deep dives on everything they've got going on, right? Um, And it's kind of like when we had on Rex. I went through and I looked at all of the things that he'd done previously because I didn't want to just talk about Madden. I wanted to talk about the things that led him to Madden, right?
Yeah.
With you, I'm not going to lie to you. There is some fun things that you've got in your arsenal that as I began doing my scoping, I was like, wow, he's involved in this stuff, right? What is going on with you and Dungeons and Dragons where it seems like you had someone stole your horse?
Oh yeah. So Dungeons and Dragons. Um, I don't know what my first love is, Mo. I don't know if I love Madden more or if I love Dungeons and Dragons more. So I'm involved in Elite. I also run a Dungeons and Dragons themed community. We've recently did a couple. We recently did a game called Someone Stole My Horse, and that game is just a couple sessions. It wasn't so. Are you familiar with Dungeons and Dragons at all? Let me first ask you that.
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Dungeons and Dragons has been something that I've always wanted to check out, but I have no idea how to dive into the start. It kind of seems like I would be so far behind that it's overwhelming, but I am really, really intrigued by the whole thing.
I gotcha. So let's slow it down a little bit. For those who may not know what Dungeons and Dragons is, a lot of people have probably heard of it. Most probably don't know what it is. But I would describe Dungeons and Dragons as a group storytelling game with a storyteller, one person being the storyteller, and then the other players being a part of the narrative. They control one person within the story that is being told, and they can do whatever they want. There is no limitation on what they can do, none at all. And they can do anything they want, but the results of what they're wanting to do are determined based off of stats that their character has and the roll of a dice. And Dungeons and Dragons games, they can run for years. The particular one you're referencing, Someone Stole My Horse, it was just a couple weeks game, and that game was kind of a placeholder between projects. As far as what I do in the Dungeons and Dragons space, I run a D&D themed community, and we've been running games in this community for a very long time. For a few years now, every game that we have ran, it all takes place in one world. And at the moment, I have one D&D game. There are times I'll have like 4 running at a time. Right now, I just got one. And it's a game that's been together for probably about like 5 years. The group has, we've had some turnover though in the last year, but all of the games take place in one world, and we've basically been building one massive story. And I mentioned at any given time I could have 4 games going. All of the games take place in the same world on the same timeline, and they're all kind of interwoven, kind of similar to how the MCU is. You have one universe, all of these stories being told in the universe, and in the mix of the D&D community, all of the stories are all leading up to one massive thing. There's going to be a point, I'm not sure when it's going to be, but there's going to be a massive crossover game with all of my games coming together, and it's going to be wild. And in the mix of it, in the mix of the D&D theme community, we've also ran a are you familiar with the game Diplomacy?
I am not.
So Diplomacy is like one of those, you've seen those like World War II or like World War One war games over in Europe set on like a European map.
Yeah.
So Diplomacy, it's one of those games. It's got a very light rule set. Me and one of the guys in my D&D community, we took the rule set of that and we took the map for the world that all of our games take place in, and we basically made a game similar to Diplomacy in our world. And that game ran for about a year, and it had 18 players at the start, and it currently just finished up, and it didn't even finish up. The story kind of got out of hand, and we had to put it on pause for some other aspects in the world story to catch up. But there's a lot of people involved in the D&D project, a lot of hands in the pot, and we're all just kind of telling one cool story.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Dungeons and Dragons have been. I'm a huge fan of games like Skyrim, Dragon Age, like just that whole environment. So Dungeons and Dragons have always had some kind of intrigue to me. What would be your advice for somebody that's in my situation if we're like, I would like to get started in something like this?
So there's a couple ways you can go about it. One, find like a local game store around you that sells like comics and D&D games. A lot of them have like open D&D rooms, and a lot of people come together, play the game, learn the game. However, with the whole COVID crap, a lot of that stuff been dialed back. It can be really intimidating getting into the hobby. All you really need though is one book. There are a ton of books out there you can get as far as D&D goes, but you really only need one book, and that's the Player's Handbook. I would recommend to anyone looking to get into the hobby, go buy yourself a Player's Handbook, read through the handbook, and find a game master that's willing to work with you. The overall D&D community, it's a super open community, and very welcoming to new members. So if you want to learn the game, buy a Player's Handbook, and find some people to take you under their wing. It's really super easy to get started. It can be intimidating at first glance, but character creation, it's super easy. So just throw character together and jump in a game, and you'll figure it out as you go. It's not hard.
Now, another one of the reasons that Matt allows me to do this is I'm very good at coming up with things on the fly. And I want to get you out of here. I know that it's late, but brother, I can't.
No, you're good, man. Don't worry about time.
I cannot get you out of here without talking about some wrestling.
Oh, yes.
Your love at wrestling even start?
I think my earliest memory in life was finding out. One of my earliest memories in life was finding out that Hulk Hogan turned into a bad guy.
Oh.
I remember walking into my grandparents' house, my papaw's house, right? I walked into my papaw's house, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I walked in their living room. He sat me down on the couch, and he said to me, "Bradley, there's something, we need to talk about something." And he broke it to me, and like I remember sobbing and crying, man. Like I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know who was going to be my favorite wrestler. Since Hulk Hogan was a bad guy, I ended up settling on the Ultimo Dragon because his mask was cool. But yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. Wrestling was always a big part of my family growing up in the early 90s. I had tons of wrestling action figures. My papaw, the same one that broke to me the news about Hulk Hogan turning into a bad guy, he made me like a really cool ring out of like wood and like metal pipes and ropes, because I would always break the cheap rings that you could get from like the store. I was always breaking them. So he made me one that was break proof, and he even made like a custom cage for it. It was absolutely amazing, but it's just always a big part of my life.
So just from the story you just told, guesses you spent a lot of time watching WCW as a kid.
Oh yeah, I was team WCW all the way.
Which is awesome for me because sounds like I was a little older than you, because how old are you?
I'm 31.
See, I'm 30. I think I'll be 35 this year. I think I'm 34 right now. At some point, you forget, right? Here's
Yeah.
the thing, man. I can tell you where I was when Hulk Hogan came down at Bash of the Beach. I believe it was in '96. And he was the third member of the NWO. I remember when Kevin Nash was Big Daddy Cool Diesel, and Scott Hall was Razor Ramon, and they ended up leaving the WWF to go over to the WCW to start the NWO. I won't lie to you, man. My favorite wrestler during that time frame though was Sting. I can
Mm.
tell you to this day where I was when he came out and told the crowd he wasn't going to say anything anymore. I remember the first time he was in the rafters. I can't tell you. I'll never forget the goosebumps I had when he talked for the first time after an entire year. Um, Wrestling back then was just something different.
Do you watch it to this day?
Not as much as I think there was a period in the early 2000s where I really quit watching wrestling altogether. WCW ended up getting bought out. I was huge into like Sting and those guys at the time. So I just kind of quit. Goldberg, I think, came back for a little while a few years later, and I jumped back into it then just kind of checked that stuff out. And then I went through a hiatus where I haven't watched any wrestling up until about the last 6 months. And now I've got a 5-year-old who is really kind of into it, and that's re-sparked, I guess, some of my childhood stuff. So I've been watching some of this AEW.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I stopped watching the WWE. I think it was 2017. They made some booking decisions that I was appalled with, and I was like, nope, I'm done. Goodbye. And it was the best thing I ever did for my love of wrestling, because outside of the WWE, there is so much great crap out there that so many people are missing out on. And AEW is a very big part of that. So you're making good choices, Mo. I approve.
Yeah, no, they really got me when they brought Sting in. I couldn't have who Darby Allin was before then, but now that I've been watching, I definitely know now. So they're doing some good stuff, man. It's a lot of fun to watch. It definitely reminds me of some old school wrestling.
You need to, so if you're just kind of getting back in this and you're like watching AEW, when you get some time, you need to look up some matches that took place a couple years ago. Are you familiar with who Okada is?
No.
Okay, so Okada is, I guess you would say he is to Japanese wrestling like what Ric Flair was in his heyday.
Okay.
Okay, and like that is raising the bar very high. But once you get to figure this guy out, you'll realize, holy crap, this guy is the real deal. So there's a Japanese wrestler. His name's Okada. He's a part of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And AEW, before it was a thing, where it really got its roots was in New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor, which is an American company that works with New Japan. And AEW kind of sprung up from those two promotions. But I say all that to say, when you're watching AEW, the world champion is Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega had 3 matches. They ended up having 4, but they're famed for 3. They had 3 matches in New Japan, the Omega Okada trilogy. Look those matches up.
Gotcha. I'll do that. Now I'm going to give you some advice too.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of wrestling bios on YouTube?
Wrestling bios on YouTube. I have not. What is this?
Okay, so right now I am digging the series that he's putting out weekly. He's got a series right now called Reliving the War. And what he does, he puts out an episode weekly, and he follows the timeline of the Monday Night Wars back from I believe it's early 1996, and he'll follow it all the way through till Vince McMahon ends up buying WCW.
Yeah.
But right now, I believe they're on episode 55-ish, 56-ish. But each episode will show you exactly what happened that week in Nitro and exactly what happened that week in Raw, and compare each segment and try to tell you who won that week, outside of just the viewers that they got. But it's an
That's
incredible
cool.
show. But yeah, it's every single week. There's so much that I've watched in these 55 episodes that I'd forgotten all about, that I'm loving it. So if you liked 90s wrestling, it is an incredible show to check out.
I will definitely check this out. I have written a note on the pad of paper next to me, so we will check this out.
Brad, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad you got on.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me on.
Guys, this is Elite CFM. They are on PlayStation 5. I cannot recommend them enough. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's still a part of me that's like, Mo, go buy a PlayStation in their league at some point. Because if I ever were to buy another console, it would be that so I could do this thing with you guys, because I really believe in what you're doing. You do an incredible job, man. Like I'm proud to be a part of a community that has you in it, just like I am with the Sodans and just like I am with all the other ones. You do an incredible job. In fact, there's a reason that when I even was doing that pros for schmo things, you were the very first person I even reached out to. So I hope you understand the level of respect that I've got for you and everything that you guys are doing.
I appreciate the love, man. Hey, and you get a PS5. Like, we got a big waiting list, but I'll pull some strings.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate that. See, I know a guy. For everybody out there, I've got friends in high places. Guys, that is Elite. That is Bradley. Follow them on Twitter. Again, it is Elite CFM on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter. If you want a part of Bradley stuff, it is at Bradley Bayless on Twitch and Twitter. Check them all out. Guys, that is the League Crawler podcast for the week. We'll see you next week.